who fought in the Battle of Britain, it was a battle for survival. For the free world, it was a breathless moment in history. For failure would have plunged mankind into a new dark age. Never have so many owed so much to so few.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Tonight I'm doing Spitfire issue 69. I'm afraid I don't have the Terminator issue today because it didn't come in the shop. So that's why I'm only doing Spitfire tonight. And here's my co-host, P40F20.
Right, Eagle Squadron. Captain Langley will be leading us today against the Hun Blighters. Good hunting, lads. Over to you, Captain Langley.
Thank you, P40F20. Right. So far we have no comments, so let's move on to the build.
Alrighty then. Today we are going to be assembling and fitting the rear wheel. And as soon as you're ready, we'll get into the parts checklist. Our first comment from Dave Mack, also known as...
Not Chris.
Not Chris. Oops. Good evening, Eagle Squadron. Time to get your kites airborne and shoot the current buns out of the sky. I think he meant to say Huns.
Thank you, Dave Mac.
How you doing tonight, Chris?
Okie doke. Right.
All right, our parts checklist. First, we have 6901, the strut for the tail wheel.
To me, that feels metal.
I believe it is.
Right.
Then we have 6902, the fixing bracket for the tail wheel.
Again, that feels metal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're getting quite a few bits metal as well.
Then we have 6903, which is a small fret of plastic parts, A to D. We have two wheel hubs and a couple of other parts for fastening on the tail wheel.
Yes.
Then 6904 is the pivot pin for the tailplane flaps.
Yeah, so basically probably end up gluing something onto those two, or it'll be a little screw holding that on. That's a good question.
Then we have 6905, the tire for the tail wheel.
Yep.
Then we have 6906, 2 PM, 1.6 by 10 millimeter screws.
Yes.
And neither of those are spare.
Right, so people
We're going to need both of them. And then we have 6907, 3 PM, 2 by 4 millimeter screws. This time one is spare.
Because we're not going to end up using those long ones again, because we always end up having a spare one, because they could end up ordering 1,000 or 500,000 of them, made cost-wise, but they only had to buy, of course, 1/8 of a million of those.
Yeah.
That is a good question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if you're ready, we'll go to step 1. Take parts C and D from the frame, 6903, and the tire, 6905. push parts C and D together on either side of the tire to create the wheel hub, as shown in the inset. For those of you that are interested, the parts for the wheel hubs come pre-painted a dark gray color. They actually should be painted silver with Tamiya AS12 if you've been doing that all along with the other parts of the model. Couple of pieces of chat while you're doing that, Adrian.
Okay.
Dave Mack, current buns, Huns, LOL. And another from Justin Summerfield. Hi, Adrian, and good luck with the build. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Justin. Right, put these two together. So I'm going to pop. Oops.
I don't think they actually snap together.
Yeah, but one does slot one into the other. So
well, right. Mm-hmm.
No, they don't actually. Because that one actually dropped out again. Right. Okay.
Okay, step 2. Fit the tire 6905 between the arms of the support bracket 6902.
First, I'm going to get the screw ready because you know when you start getting stuff in your hands. Okay. By looking at it, that side there is slightly longer. So basically, I reckon the screw would go through that hole there. So slot that in there.
Yeah, the one hole will be a clearance hole and the other hole will be the threaded hole.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, that's. Oops, I've clicked on one too far. Like so. So
Step 3. Fix the wheel in place using a PM 1.6 by 10 millimeter screw. It is fitted from the smooth side of the bracket 6902 through the hub parts C and D and into the other side of the bracket. There is a nut detail not visible here on the other side of the bracket. Do not over-tighten. The wheel should be able to spin. Of course, I don't know why, because the plane's never going to sit down on the ground on its landing gear.
Well, it's basically so it does really pretty well like probably touch the model. Well, yeah, the main
Spin
wheels
the
they
wheel.
don't spin. The main wheels they don't spin. They're fixed.
Yeah, they're fixed.
It'd be a
Okay.
different matter if they were spinnable. Right. Okay, that's nicely.
Okay, then we go on to 69 to step 4. Take the tail wheel strut 6901 and fit it on top of the bracket 6902. A rectangular peg on top of the bracket fits into a rectangular hole in the strut.
I believe we're going to use a long screw again. I'm going to just quickly get them ready on the screwdriver. Okay.
And then step 5 is turn the wheel assembly upside down so that you can fix the bracket 6902 to the strut 6901 using a PM 1.6 by 10 millimeter screw. Part 6902 pivots around the screw. That's a rather odd statement.
Well, how can it pivot when you've got a peg?
Yeah, there's a locating peg which prevents it from moving.
Unless it's actually designed slight movement. Probably the peg is slightly smaller than that hole, and basically there is slight movement in that hole.
Well, it couldn't be very much.
It depends how much tightness you actually do that screw up, basically. Yeah, okay, I'm going to have that slightly loose then. There's a slight play on it. Okie doke.
Then on to step 6. Now you're going to need to bring the model in, because you're going to fit the tail wheel strut 6901 against the right-hand side of the rudder support 6801. A peg on the side of the rudder support fits into a hole in the strut as indicated by the red arrow.
I've actually took my tail piece off. So basically, then people can see how I'm putting it through the camera eyes.
It'll be easier for everybody to see how it goes on that way.
Yes. So that pegs onto there. We need part A.
And then we go on to step 7. Take part A from frame 6903, fit it across the top of the tail wheel support strut 6901. The holes at each end of part A align with the screw holes in part 6801. And the central hole circled fits over the peg referred to in the previous step. Note there are 2 L-shaped ribs on the rudder support 6801, which help to ensure that part A is correctly positioned.
When I'm first looking, I think, actually, no, that's incorrect compared to the image. So you're going to go that way around. Not pop on there like so.
Right. Then we go on to step 8. Fix part A in place using 2 PM 2x4mm screws. The screws hold part A and the tail wheel strut 6901 in place on part 6801. And while you're doing that, we have a bit of chat from Not Chris. You would have thought that the undercarriage would have been metal instead of plastic.
Yes. They probably done it plastic because of the detail. Don't forget, they can do better detail in plastic than they can in metal.
Well, the main landing gear doesn't have that much detail to it, and I think that being made of metal would have aided in their operation when it's on the stand.
Yes, the weight of them would actually automatically
Would help bring them down.
Yes.
I think they did a better job on this tail wheel than they did on the main landing gear myself.
Because there's quite a bit of motion there. It depends, yeah.
I don't know why there's any motion there because it's a fixed tail wheel.
Unless they, in one of the models, the first model they didn't have it fixed. It could be.
Well, there is a hole in the end of the arm up there, and possibly there's going to be a spring there, or possibly that third motor that's in the aft fuselage there is going to be connected to it, but I really don't know why.
Yeah, to be honest, I would say yes, have a more fixed one. It depends the model they looked at. The model they were copying from probably actually saw an upgrade, like having a tail wheel movable, but original models of the aircraft probably did not.
Well, the only thing I can figure is that it's to simulate some suspension on the tail wheel strut.
Right. Okay. I'm going to bring the back of the aircraft back in shot, so I can roughly put that back onto there. So I can do the next step, and a couple of steps. Right, step 9.
Okay, step 9, fit the copper shaft of the pivot pin 6904 through the hole in the rudder support 6801. Note the orientation of the pivot pin. It is fitted from the right-hand side.
Okay, that pops in there like so.
Yep. Check the fit of part B from frame 6903 over the shaft of the pivot pin 6904. The inner rim of part B fits around the center of the plastic element of part 6904. And I forgot to mention, this is step 10.
Right, that would pop onto there like so.
And for step 11, it says to apply a little super glue in the central rim of part B and fix it to the central part of the rudder support 6801. It is essential that you do not get any glue on the pivot pin 6904. See note at the top of the opposite page. And that note reads, this image shows the plastic element of part 6904 in place, viewed from the right-hand side of the model. The tab at the top of the central part of the pivot pin can rotate between the two blocks on the side of the rudder support 6801 as indicated by the red arrows, thus limiting the travel of the elevators when they're attached.
Right, yes. As I haven't got my other tail piece on, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave that to go a bit later because I'd rather make sure that's more straight. I'm done fine with the other bit of wing on it.
And once that's done, that is completed work. The tail wheel and pivot pin have been fitted to the tail plane.
I'll just pop that one onto there like so. That's how that would end up looking. Like so.
That's it indeed.
And fine for next week is
Your next set of parts in issue 70, parts for the tailplane, rudder, rudder trims, navigation light, and other details. And for the eagle-eyed out in the audience and those who just love putting labels on cables, we're going to be getting a bit of that in next week's issue.
Will we end up having one more label on a cable, or will we end up having a couple more labels on a cable? That is the question.
Mm-hmm. And will there be labels on cables when it comes time to build the base?
Yes, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Well done, Captain Langley. You and the lads gave Jerry a damn good thrashing. Off now to debrief, Eagle Squadron. Mess Sergeant, see to it that you have tea and caramel wafers ready for after. Back over to you, Captain Langley.
Thank you, P40F20.
A bit of chat from Dave Mack. Great show and build, guys. You get a big thumbs up from me. That's a lot of thumbs. Thank you, Nat Chris. There we go.
Yes, thank you. Right, that's a nice, easy stage to build. I do apologise, I haven't glued that in. But next week, it might be looking slightly different. Because I might be doing some other work on my aircraft model. Some of this.
Axel, you got yourself some AS-12.
Yes. That's probably why I don't want to glue that piece on, because I'm going to leave that section green, that plastic bit green, but I'd rather.
Well, on mine, all of the parts for these last 4 issues, I've left alone. I haven't bothered to paint that interior framework for the tail feathers, because once the outer skins go on, you're never going to see it again. But I would advise painting the wheel hubs with the AS-12. And my thinking is on the tail wheel strut and the support bracket. I believe that those should be painted black on the left side to go along with the rest of the underside of the plane. I haven't been able to find anything to definitely determine that, but that is what I feel should be done. Up to you whether you want to do it or not. And
well, it depends how well the outer shell goes round, isn't it?
Well, that tail wheel strut and the support bracket are going to be sitting out in the air. You're going to see them. And from what I've seen, if the Spitfire were silver underneath the fuselage, that strut and yoke would be silver. Later on in the war, when they went to medium sea gray for the undersides, the strut and yoke were also medium sea gray. And I believe with the black and white scheme, it would have been white on the right side and black on the left. Of course, later on, this plane had been repainted with the duck egg green, and Hachette has given us the strut and support bracket all in duck egg green. It may be that is correct, or it may be correct to have the left side of both of those parts in black. Your choice. I can't definitely say what's right and what's wrong in this case. I haven't been able to find anything definitive in my searches on the internet.
Well, yeah, that's what you can work out, isn't it? That being black and green, basically, color-wise.
It would make sense, because obviously it would have originally been white on the right side and then had been repainted with the duck egg green. It's possible they painted the whole strut that way, or just the right-hand side, and the left side would be black. Like I say, I can't say for sure either way.
Because you searched for details on it, but you couldn't
I've
find
searched and searched and searched, and I couldn't find anything definitive when it had the what they call the night and white underside scheme, how those tail wheel struts were done. But I think it would make sense that the strut would match whatever the color of the underside of the aircraft was, because that's what I'm seeing with later on in the war with when they went to ocean gray under there, and some Spitfires, instead of having half white and half black under the whole side of the plane, only had it under the wings, and the rest of the underside of the aircraft was silver. In that case, the strut and the bracket were silver. That I know for sure.
Yes.
The underside of these early Spitfires are a minefield because there were so many different ways they could be.
Well, yes. You never know. They might actually, yes. Some being green and black basically, and some being blue. Another thing, they could have had, certain squadron being certain colours. So basically, in ground cruising, oh yes, that's squadron.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they exactly did that, but I know later on they did experiment with duck egg blue, and then they finally went to the duck egg green. And it's possibly at squadron level, instead of repainting the whole underside of the aircraft with the duck egg green, they only did the half that was white. The reason for the black and white was so that friendly forces on the ground wouldn't shoot at them. They'd know, hey, those are our aircraft.
Yeah. It's a bit like, the Gulf War, basically. All tanks, like so often they change the colours, didn't they? They had like their colour flag on them. So they just notice, yes, that's our group.
And also, like later in the war, when D-Day occurred, the night before, they repainted the wings and fuselages of the aircraft with alternating black and white stripes to make identification of our aircraft easy.
Oh, yes. But you never know. Germany think, hang on, let's do our aircraft about the same colour. They thought, hang on, let's change ours and make our troops more identified, our aircraft friendly fire.
Mm-hmm.
Right, thank you, P, for your assistance tonight.
No problem. Glad to be of assistance. Hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight.
Yep. Thank you all for watching. And thank you again, P, for it. And goodbye from all of us.
See you next time.